Hello and welcome to episode 5 of season 2 of the Best Kept Secrets of Greene County, New York podcast, where we're letting the Catskills out of the bag. I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Jessica DuPont. She is the Community and Economic Development Specialist at Greene County. And our guest today is the wonderful Chad Paliotta from Storybrook Hollow Castle Brewery in Cairo, New York. Chad, welcome.
Pleased to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're really glad to be talking to you today. So,
great.
Can you tell us the story of how Storybrook Hollow came to be?
Absolutely. It's a bit of a funny story. So my father was an engineer and my mother is an artist. And so I tend to think of myself as the logical combination of those two very different things. So I spent my whole childhood being exposed to all the things that you would sort of want a joyful childhood to be exposed to. Walt Disney Company, Jim Henson, all of those things that inspired me artistically. And then having the added benefit of a father who was a woodworker and an engineer, giving me the practical ability to combine all of that creative interest and the means to actually bring it to life. And so I spent all of my free time growing up making interesting things. And when I had the luxury of being an adult and deciding that I could do something productive, quote unquote, with my hobbies, I decided to see if I could take the show on the road. So that's when I started doing craft fairs and basically created a whole creative workshop in what was first my basement and then my garage and basement. And it just took on a life of its own after that. So it was years in the making, but definitely inspired by my beginnings.
So tell us about some of the magical things that we could find at Storybrook Hollow.
So it is very much Disney and Henson-esque. I leaned pretty heavily into a lot of the things that I found interesting. I've always been fascinated by fairy tales and folklore. So you'll see a lot of the things in our gift shop that have been created that are along those lines.
Absolutely.
Lots of home decor that is fantastical, whimsical, sort of Harry Potter-esque, Lord of the Rings type stuff.
I got a little dark crystal too when I was in there too.
Yes.
When I was a freshman in college, my technical director at the time was a guy by the name of Richard Termini. Okay. And he had a master's degree from University of Rhode Island in puppetry.
Oh.
And I said, what the are you ever going to do with a master's degree in puppetry? It's like,
what's the practical application of that?
And he showed me, he went to work for Henson.
Yeah.
And a year later, after he had left, he invited us all down, and I got to sit at the boardroom table with the portrait of Miss Piggy as the Mona Lisa behind me, which was fantastic.
Yeah, there's actually a surprising amount of Henson alum in this immediate area that I've had the good fortune of bumping up against, when you're out and about in the area in the craft fair circuit.
He designed, he created the character Aughra in Dark Crystal. And it was directly based on an English professor that we had at Hartwick College in the 1980s.
That's fantastic.
And Joan Gratz, may you rest in peace.
The very first sculpture that I made years and years ago when I first started the business was this little goblin creature. And I honestly did not do this with intent. But by the time I was done with it, it was the spitting image of my father. I mean, it was like it was a perfect little goblin face that, after I had completed it and, showed it to my mother, she was like, "That you realize that you just did a portrait of your father, right?" So I can relate.
So for someone who's never been to Storybrook Hollow, how would you describe it?
As indescribable. So it is, I'm a firm believer in the concept of an immersive experience. And some of the best feedback that I've ever gotten from people who stopped in is very much along the lines of, I didn't know what it was going to be like until I walked through the door. And I still don't have the words to describe what I have experienced, but I love it. And so it is an immersive experience in the sense that around every corner is something to see. The building itself is a work of art. All local stone, built by an eccentric local stonemason named Benny, who's probably built most of the stone buildings within the 50-mile radius of where we're standing right now. And he would do things like he would put butterflies in his stonework. So if you're in the castle looking at the 25-foot tall fireplace that's just in the main Great Hall, there are little butterflies and birdhouses in the stonework. Every nook and cranny has something that has been lovingly placed by design for you to see or hear the music that we play while you're in there, every aspect of the building itself, and how the gift shop was built, and where all of the bar and the tavern that we have there, everything is very carefully curated so that when you walk in, you feel the vibe that we're going for, which is warm, whimsy, comfortable, and something that you just don't see every day.
One of my favorite things to immerse myself in when visiting Storybrook Hollow is your wonderful selection of craft beverages.
Yes.
How did that come about?
So I personally started off as a winemaker, but discovered very quickly that wine takes a lot of patience, which is something I discovered I also had in lesser supply than you would need. So that was when the pivot to beer making, home brewing took place. And so I had always secretly harbored a desire to find a way to do that in a broader scale than just amusing myself and my friends. The building, the castle itself, which has been a local landmark for half a century or more, was a restaurant for most of its life cycle. And so while being a restaurant owner was not my goal, it had a kitchen. And so the best idea that I could come up with was to say, this is perfect. So we took some of the kitchen equipment out, put in an extremely small, because I could only fit so much within the footprint of the building, a tiny, tiny little one-barrel brewing system, which fit perfectly in the space that we had. And then I found a craft brewing, I lovingly call him somewhere between an artisan and a crazy person, because he has just the right amount of 30 plus years of experience in the brewing business, came out of the New England market, so he's worked for all the major brewers, had his own bar for many, many years. His name is Gary Goslin. We call him Goose. And he was looking for somewhere to just fiddle around in his semi-retirement, just to keep the brewing bug alive. And so he's the real mad scientist behind our I can now say, award-winning beers, since we actually got a silver medal at the recent Tap New York Festival at the Blackthorn. Yeah, so it was about as local as you could possibly want. I just roll out of the castle and I'm at the festival.
You got a silver medal. You were up against some pretty stiff competition.
Yes.
Rip Van Winkle got a couple of medals.
More than a couple.
Yeah, they've been doing it for quite a while.
Yeah.
They were one of the original brew pubs when the craft brewing thing really hit here about 10 years ago.
Yes, yeah. So it's certainly it's fine company to be in when you can actually place at any festival, but let alone a festival that's as well represented with good breweries as this one was.
Absolutely. So Storybrook Hollow is located on Route 145 in the town of Cairo. As Chad mentioned, for most of its lifespan, it was a restaurant, and I remember it as the Stone Tower.
Yes.
And it went through a long run of being a relatively successful restaurant, and then a series of shorter runs of being not so successful restaurants. And and then it was vacant for quite a while before you came along. So how did you find it?
It's a funny story. Because I am a little bit eccentric, I'm the kind of person who sets up a Google alert for castle for sale. As you do.
As people do.
As people do. And so, over the years, you get occasional alerts that say, hey, there's a castle for sale. And so I had gotten an alert that said castle for sale, and it showed me a listing of this little stone castle in Cairo, New York, which I was not familiar with the castle. I was not familiar with the area. And at the time, this was, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, I just wasn't in the right place in my life to do anything about it, but I made a mental note. I filed it away in the back of my mind. And then right as the pandemic was starting, the world is closing down, all of this uncertainty, for no particular reason whatsoever, I just thought on some random day, I wonder if that building is still available. And lo and behold, it was. And it was surprisingly affordable by that stage. And so I went. This is, everything's closed, so I couldn't even get a real estate showing. So I drove up to the castle and basically stuck my face on the glass and looked through to say, is it possible that this place is still here and it hasn't crumbled? Right. And long story short, real estate showings, and I convinced my friends and I convinced my family that this was not insane. And so I bought and refurbished a castle and, installed a gift shop in, one of the corners. So took out some tables, put the gift shop in. And then we did our soft opening that Christmas. So Christmas of 2021 was when we officially opened our doors. We did a whole Christmas at the castle thing, photos with Father Christmas, and we had homemade treats there. And that was really sort of the beginning. And then I just sort of closed back up again and did the renovations for the brewery thereafter. So, which took a tremendous amount of time and energy. And now we have reopened in our final form, which is as a craft brewery so we're a New York State farm brewery. So all of our ingredients are from New York, and most of them coming from the Hudson Valley specifically. Okay. So very much farmed. Absolutely. I mean, it would have been an impossibility had I not actually collaborated pretty extensively with the county and gotten a tremendous amount of support from the Economic Development Office. We were actually awarded last year a multi-grant, which is the reason the brewery was able to open, because when you're sort of nickel and diming as an owner-operator, it's very much a me, myself, and I proposition to be able to pull this stuff off, unless you get meaningful, tangible support from, I've certainly leaned on all of my friends and family, but local government has risen to the occasion in dramatic ways. The Chamber of Commerce, another great example of folks who are readily available for promotion, for insight, for just conversations to say, hey, what do you think? But particularly, all of the county legislators and the Economic Development Office specifically have been, I don't know if there's a level beyond critical, whatever that is, that's where they've been as far as support. And a wonderful, helpful man. Yeah, and the program that led up to it. I mean, a lot of people look at these things as red tape, paperwork, this enormous burden on business owners to try and get these things. And there was obviously paperwork and red tape. It took quite a lot of time to build the proposal. But as a component of the program, you actually have to sit in on training sessions, which they are specifically designed to make sure that the not just that the money gets well spent, but that you're prepared to succeed, and that is, as much as anybody can think they know what they're doing, help is helpful. It sounds like a ridiculously obvious thing to say, but it makes the difference between being prepared and not being prepared. To sit through, it was multiple sessions on multiple topics related to marketing, bookkeeping, logistics, all of those things. I can't say enough about how useful it was. And without that money, without that funding, I wouldn't have been able to purchase equipment, I wouldn't have been able to hire staff, or at the very least, I wouldn't have been able to do it for who knows how long, as I, sort of like clawed along. So we have a lot of stuff that we do over the course of the year. This last quarter is sort of our busy time for having things to do. So as of right now in October, we're running our Haunted Castle experience. So as a castle should be, it does very well in the holidays. So we've got cobwebs galore. We have floating ghosts in our haunted mirror. We have a talking pumpkin who recites Edgar Allan Poe's The Raven. Our pumpkin ale is on tap now, freshly made. Again, all local New York ingredients. So we do a whole haunted castle thing, which pumpkin carving for the kids. You can do fresh pressed apple cider, where you actually turn the crank on the apple press yourself. Lots of tasty treats to enjoy. We're trying to coordinate. We probably won't get it in October, probably in November, December, but we're going to do a paint and sip event. And then we're pivoting right into our Christmas at the Castle extravaganza. So the whole month of December is, we transform the castle from its haunted castle to Christmas at the Castle, 15-foot tall Christmas tree, fire in the fireplace, stockings hanging with care. And the main events are going to be on Saturdays, we do pet pictures, so pet portraits in front of the tree with Father Christmas, and then families and kids pictures on Sundays with Father Christmas. So it's a big deal. It's crazy busy, which is great. It's not a sort of kid-centric experience, but it's definitely not what you would normally experience in the context of a brewery. I would like to think we sort of split the difference of, we are a little bit of everything for everybody. We're also super pet friendly, so pets are welcome in the brewery all the time, in addition to the pet pictures that we have in December. But, you know, I'd like to think there's a little bit of something for, you know, come for the beer, come for the bites, come for the gift shop experience where you can pick out your own magic wand, or you know, get a little gnome or some kind of home decor that we have there. There's a lot to experience that I think appeals to a pretty broad audience of potential you know, friends, family, and customers.
Yeah, definitely.
Outstanding. So you said that you had never heard of Caro, New York before.
Nope.
And you found it by a Google alert. What intrigued you about Greene County aside from the castle?
So I think it is objectively correct to say the area is stunningly beautiful here. It is an incredibly collaborative community. So there are a lot of local businesses and business owners who spend a lot of time and energy chatting, supporting each other. I mean, so probably 30% of our clientele that comes through for our main events is almost always the other businesses and business owners who come through, because it's a very important part of this community to turn out for the other members of the community. So I think that's one big piece of it. But the other part, again, to go back to the sort of local government support, as soon as I indicated that I had an interest in purchasing the castle, everyone at the local level, at the county level, even at the state level, was like, what can we do to be helpful? And that means a lot.
I remember the check presentation, the big check presentation.
Yes.
And the turnout was spectacular, because it was not just people from just around the corner. You know, I mean, our New York State representative was there, our New York State senator was there, members of the Greene County legislature, and it was one of those things that you don't find it in a lot of other places. You know,
I think that's important.
I think it's we're uniquely approachable that way.
Yes, and sort of genuine in that interest. I think it's easy to, to use the analogy, to sort of like write a check that you think nobody's ever going to cash. You can be really sort of exuberant in promising things and saying, oh, well, we'd love to be helpful, but to actually live up to that expectation and to turn up and to be really genuine in that support, I don't think that's a universal experience. I think that's something that is very unique to this immediate area, in how I've experienced it, for sure.
So, taking the multi-grant process up to the next level, we're currently in market with a campaign that is, are you ready to start your dream business in Greene County, New York? And it basically takes people through, it's an online quiz, and they answer certain questions, and based on their answers, they get pointed in the right direction. Until they are ready to actually almost, the end goal is to have them be able to have a dossier that will enable them to apply for the multi-grant. So it's more of an interactive process, but again, we are actively awaiting more funding from New York State, so we can actively do more.
Yeah, and I would encourage anybody, I think if anything is sort of emblematic of what it is that I have chosen to do here. I mean, this is not a practical endeavor. I could have chosen to open a convenience store if the practicality was my primary objective. I think that what you're talking about there, opening your dream, this is that. And I think that being bold enough to want to do something is a huge proportion of what it is that you need to do. But things like that, something as simple as an online quiz that's going to give you, it's like, what is it that you want to do? Okay, check, check, check. Here's the direction that we can point you in. All designed towards giving people tangible, meaningful support in order to be able to translate that dream into action and then translate that action into success. You can't put value on that. Like that, it is. It's the only way something like a dream can work.
Yeah, and that's what that grant is for. I mean, it's for small businesses and startups with businesses with less than 5 employees.
Yeah.
So it's meant to help those people that have that dream that just don't know how to have the funds to do it.
Well, and when you're at that scale, everything makes a difference. I mean, as an owner-operator, when you're your own tax person, you're your own janitor, you're your own carpenter, every minute counts, every penny counts, and when you have a staff that small, 10 people, a week is going to make the difference between can I make payroll or can I not make payroll. So all of these factors make things like a program that is designed to help, real small businesses, small businesses, mom and pop shops, or places that are in, I don't want to say economically depressed areas, but like you're not on a main thoroughfare where you don't have to do anything in order to be successful. You're fighting for every minute of attention, you're fighting for every dollar that you get, and it makes the difference between is it going to work or is it not?
Yeah.
Now, Greene County is very unique in the fact that we have no cities.
Yeah.
Okay. We have 14 towns and 5 villages, and we are very rural. Okay. But the cool thing about that is that it is, and we've embraced this and really leaned into it, we recognize it is a tourism-driven economy.
Yes.
Okay. We're in process of trying to attract manufacturers as everybody is. There's certain development projects that are going on right now that are looking at being able to bring in more larger businesses, but the real meat and potatoes of everything that goes on here is that small business environment. And the thing that we can tout is that we're a 4-season destination.
Yes.
And people come here primarily from the south. We're trying to get more people to go south from the north. But
right.
For whatever reason, it seems like when people go away, they like to go north.
Yeah.
And so people in Albany go to the Adirondacks.
Yeah. Well, there's always something, like just north of where you're at.
That's it. So. But at any rate, getting that type of traffic, we work hand in hand with Greene County Tourism. Their job is to get people to come here. Yeah. Ours is to get them to stay here, start a business, start a family, buy a house, pay taxes.
Buy a castle.
Yeah.
Buy a castle.
Yeah, it definitely is an area that is, it's not only is it in of itself a tourist destination for certain things, but it is also an easy pass through. People stop and stay on their way to other places if they're going skiing, something along those lines. That there's so much in this immediate area that makes it a good destination for that transient tourism business, like you said, 4 seasons out of the year.
Yeah, and we're seeing more and more now decline in taking a 2-week vacation somewhere. That just doesn't happen. Okay?
Right.
It is long weekends. It is maybe a 4-day, 5-day getaway, and it's a lot more drive. A lot more as opposed to having to go through all the hassle of getting on a plane unless you're going, to something like a beachfront or something like that. That's one thing. But to be able to get away in a short period of time to a place that's really, really spectacular, all 4 seasons.
And I think that it speaks well of the concept. Go to all the way back to the top of the conversation where we're talking about what I'm trying to accomplish with the business. Our goal is to be a destination location. The idea is, you could stop anywhere and have a beer. You could stop anywhere and peruse a gift shop. You could stop anywhere and catch a quick bite to eat. my goal is to be a destination location. You should, if you are hungry, you should see us. If you're thirsty, you should see us, because it is a literal castle in the Catskills. Why not? How could you come here and not stop in?
How often do you see a castle brewery?
Exactly. It was in my mind, it was the perfect use of that space to be able to just tuck in this little brewing system. So it's as artisan as you can get, super small batch stuff, local New York grown ingredients, and producing, award-winning. We get constant feedback on the beer. It is good beer, and I say that as I can say that because I personally don't actually make the beer, so it is good, crisp, refreshing beer.
So I'm assuming that you are intimately familiar with Max Ocean and Insane Coffee from Subversive.
Oh yes.
Do you get the malt from them, or is it?
No, so we haven't gotten malt from them yet.
I know they're trying to struggle to keep up to make enough malt for their own brew.
Well, and that is always the challenge, is that the more local you are, the sort of less capacity there is for these things. So there's a little bit of you're always chasing to see where you can get stuff these days, because some folks are, they run out of supply very, very quickly.
When I first started talking with Max about their place years ago, that they were always Subversive malting plus brewing.
Yeah.
Okay. And they always were malters first.
Yes.
That was their thing. And then with the West Side location in Catskill, it just took off, and now they're just, I said, how much malt are you selling? I said, we don't have any to sell.
Which is a great problem to have.
Yeah, it is. High class
and
problem
it's sort of, born of what they were interested in and what they're good at, and demonstrated capability, and to be chasing that success and have your problem being, oh God, I just can't keep up with the demand. Everybody aspires to be in that problem.
But they share your passion of having everything being New York sourced.
Yes.
And that's a great thing.
Yeah, I mean it's important. It's not necessarily the cheapest solution that you can come up with, but I don't think anybody can argue with the quality that that is the end result of that process. But most important to me is the community component of it. I really get an oversized amount of satisfaction out of being able to say, this is Hudson Valley grain that's in the beer that you're drinking there, and it's not the experience that you get everywhere.
There you go.
Do you have a favorite story or memory from the Hallow so far?
I think my favorite memory thus far was when we opened in Christmas of 21. And that was, again, as a sort of small business owner operator, I'm sure it's an experience that a lot of people can relate to, that you're still nailing things together minutes before the doors open on day one, and then probably also doing several things after the doors have opened that you hope people don't notice. So it was, 24 hours a day for weeks up to the point where we were going to open, and trying to put every piece of the puzzle into place, because I'm a perfectionist. I'm somebody who really believes in the vision, and I'm also somebody who believes in the big picture being important. Like, I want all of that tapestry woven together, and so what goes where, and what music you're playing, and the smell of the food that you're cooking, or whatever the case may be. And so it wasn't right when we opened, but it was several hours after that. The first minute that I actually stopped moving around to breathe and look, and I saw people wandering around. They had hot cocoa in their hands. There was somebody who was sitting in an armchair in front of the fireplace while the fire was crackling away, and observing all of these people who were just comfy. It was a cozy, almost family-esque experience. And they were appreciating all of those little things. So there was somebody who was looking at the tree. There was somebody who was clearly listening to the music. There was somebody who noticed this little gnome that I had stuck in a hole in one of the beams, and somebody spotted it. And so it was at that moment that I realized that it worked. It was worth it. All of the hours, all of the suffering, all of the time, the money, the sweat equity, all of that actually did make a difference, and that it was exactly what I had hoped it would be, and that people actually appreciated it the way that I had intended. So that's probably, I don't know how you can top that. I expect to have more memories as we go forward, but if I was picking one, it would be that.
That's awesome. Are there any, I mean, I know you were talking about the Christmas event that's coming up and obviously the Halloween event, but is there any events after that? Any like expansions or ideas on the horizon?
Yeah, so there's one that's a definite, and then there's a couple that are sort of not 100% sure where down the horizon. So the next big thing after the Christmas season is our annual Valentine's Day. Once Upon a Dream is what we call it. And so it is, again, everything that you would hope for from a Valentine's Day dinner experience in an enchanted castle. So that we've been doing that every year since we opened, and it's always sold out and a big success. So we're going to have at least 2 seatings this coming year on Friday and Saturday for Valentine's Day. So that's a big deal. On the horizon after that, it's a little tough to say the when, but I will say, again, as the guy who had a Google alert for castle for sale, I also have, which predates the castle, I have a dragon that is going to go in a cave at the castle at some point. And so when I say dragon, this is another one of those things that my mother, God bless her, has always been ludicrously supportive of my ridiculous ideas. So when I say, I found this production company that makes this like life-size dragon puppet, isn't that the coolest thing? She'd be like, oh yeah, you should get that, so it predates the castle. So I have had this dragon puppet in my garage for probably 10 years, waiting for the moment where I would have a home for it. So now there's a castle. So at some point in the, I will plant the flag and say foreseeable future, I will be adding a dragon to the castle. So that's the next big. You heard it here first, folks. So it's coming.
How do you see Storybrook Hollow growing over the next, say, 5 years?
Yeah, so I have 2 main objectives over the course of the next few years. No, I lied. I have 3 main objectives. So objective 1 is to expand our footprint with the beer. I'd like to start distribution to local bars and restaurants. We haven't quite gotten there yet, but we're gearing up to be able to do that. Again, we are a super small scale brewery, so all the pieces have to align for me to be able to again, preparing for success. So distribution would be 1. I would like to increase our circuit of beer festivals. There's a lot in New York that I would like to participate in. So the one at the Blackthorn was our premier beer fest. So I'd like to add that in. And then I would like to have more specific events at the castle itself. So we host weddings and birthdays and things like that every year on Halloween. We actually have for the last 3 years straight, we've had a Halloween wedding. So we have another one this Halloween. So I would like to increase our wedding and special event booking. So, we did a princess party for kids earlier in the year, which was the closest I've ever come to being concerned that the castle was actually going to fall down. Because when you have 50 princesses jumping up and down and singing Disney tunes, it is a sight to behold, but also a little bit terrifying. So, but I would love to be able to find a way to have more people have access to the building in ways, again, that it is a purely whimsical experience. So, to have your birthday party at the castle, to do your baby shower at the castle, to have your wedding at the castle, your rehearsal dinner, we're open for business. So more bookings would be a phenomenal way to get more out of the castle in the next few years.
How would someone go about making a booking? Is it on your website?
Yeah, so you can contact us through the website directly. We also have listings on some of the major websites like Wedding Wire or The Knot, or just contact us directly through the website is the other option as well.
So the web address is?
www.storybrookhollow.com.
Perfect.
That's as good as it gets.
Yes, yeah, easy peasy and hopefully rememberable.
So we always ask this question to everybody that we interview, and it's just sort of a closer kind of thing, but do you have any advice for anybody that might be interested in coming to Greene County to start a business?
Yes. And I think that this is not necessarily advice specific to Greene County. There's a little piece that is Greene County-esque, and the other part of it is just standard advice. The first part is the standard advice, which is expect the unexpected and prepare well past the point where you feel it is reasonable to be prepared, because whatever that adage is about, like, come up with a budget and then triple it, and that's closer to what you are actually going to need, that is emphatically correct. Or if anything, it's short of the reality. So whether it be time, whether it be effort, whether it be money, all of those things, there's no amount of preparation that you can never overdo from that perspective. Then the Greene County specific part is get all of that preparation, pile all of that, like you said, these questionnaires, anything that you can do to prepare yourself for, have I thought of it? Or what are the things that I need to know? Get all of that batched up, and then immediately start reaching out to all of the people that you can possibly make contact with in all of the places you could make contact. So your Chamber of Commerce, your Economic Development Office, your local legislator, anyone and everyone, which is exactly what I did. I rang every person I could think of and asked those people, who else should I be talking to for advice, for input, for opportunities, whatever. Yeah, that's how I found out about the multi-grant. Was just by asking questions to say, let's assume for the sake of argument that I don't know anything. Give me everything that you can think of. And there's no amount of information that is too much as far as I'm concerned. So get your facts together and then be prepared to learn twice as much through those conversations.
That sounds like a great way to end the podcast. So that's a wrap,
But
I think.
before we end, I just want to thank Catskill High School and Pat Hernandez and all the kids that were helping us out today. Thank you so much for allowing us to be here.
It really has taken our production value to a higher level, and we are so grateful for your partnership in this, and very happy to have a new home behind a podium desk.
Yeah, right.
With a lovely green screen in the background. What are we going to put on the green screen this time, guys?
I don't know.
Yeah, with lovely fall foliage last episode. It was
Maybe a
phenomenal.
castle behind us.
We know. You never know. You never know. So we'll find that out. And that's a wrap on this episode of Best Kept Secrets of Greene County, New York podcast, where we let the Catskills out of the bag. Jessica and I will be out looking about for more interesting things to bring to you. Chad, thanks so much for stopping by and letting us in on the magic of Storybrook Hollow.
No, I appreciate you guys making the time for it. And, it's anything that helps local businesses succeed, including my own selfishly. But, I think this is one more hallmark of how the community does it right. So thank you both for that.
Outstanding. So until next time, we've got places to go, things to see, and stories to tell.